Hey there everybody, welcome to ITNT 1500, and you're probably just getting started here and maybe you signed in to test out for the first time, and I wanted to give you a little bit of an overview on how some of this stuff works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what's going on here on my screen as I sign in to test out, and I'm going to run through one of the simulations. So that way you don't have to tackle this for the very first time completely on your own. So I've got my class here and I'm going to sign in here to this particular test out product. Now, whenever you're in test out, you can always see the table of contents and all the chapters and everything right over here. So as you're going through things, you can go through by the exact chapter that you should be on. Now, the test out chapters don't always correspond with the textbook chapters. They're actually different publishers that we combine to put this all together. But I wanted to show you at least one of these particular simulations. Now, some of the stuff that you go through is going to be pretty straightforward. You can read some stuff. Some of these are videos with scripts that you can work through. But I did want to show you this particular project here. 313 is a lab. And this is how we do hands-on work in this class. So I'm going to click Start Lab. You'll want to read through this stuff here first. Basically, you're going to pretend you are a network professional and you are going to install a network card and ensure that it gives good connectivity to the network. So you're going to install the network card with the fastest speed to connect to the local network. We'll see which ones are available. And we want to install the cable and connect the computer up to the local area network. And then we go into the Windows operating system and we're going to verify that that connection does exist and it does work. Now, we are not dealing with a real computer here. That's part of this online interactive environment that we have. We can kind of pretend that we're working on a real computer. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to click Start Lab. That'll often pop up in a new window, and that's cool. And you'll just need to keep this tab open. You don't need to jump back here. This is going to be kind of locked until you're done. You'll want to stay in your Simulation Viewer tab. I find that Google Chrome works the best. Firefox does okay. Anything else and you might be kind of on your own. I have this on a small window so it'll be easier for you to see. Hopefully everything's a little bit larger on your screen if you're watching this video. Alright, so what do we do here? There's a lot here, and nothing really tells you where to click or how to do this. So I want to run through how this simulation works. Now, this one will be similar to a lot of the other simulations that you're going to see. There is this idea that you are in an office building, and we happen to be on floor 1 and in the support office. But just for kicks, I want to show you this. If you click on exhibits, you can see that there's all kinds of network equipment that is involved in this simulation. So some of these projects will become more involved where you need to start dealing with different connections in different rooms of your office building. We're not ready for that quite yet. We're going to keep it simple for now. You can take a look at the floor 1 overview if you want, just to kind of get a feel for where everything is. But the computer that we're working on here today is this support office piece of hardware. So if the instructions tell you to work in this office and then do something in the executive office or deal with a laptop or something else, you can jump around through this virtual building and take a look at all the different equipment that is there. Some of the buildings might have more than one floor where you're going to need to kind of navigate through. So just be ready for that. But for now, we're going to keep it simple. I'm going to click back to that support office hardware. And now our instructions are, we need to select and install the network interface card with the fastest speed to connect to the local network. Okay, we can do that. We're looking here at the computer. We can see the front of that computer. We can take a look at the back of that computer. And we can even look inside that computer. Now, just be aware that your screen might be a little bit bigger. You can also zoom in here so you can see things a little bit better. But you're going to be in all these different frames, these little pieces of the window, so you might need to use your scroll bars here on the side a little bit to move around. Now, if you have read the chapter and you've looked over some of the test out materials, you might be familiar with a couple of the different types of network adapters. There's a couple ways we can communicate on a network. And I'm going to open this network adapters area here. So this is what's on our shelf. This is the possibilities that we have available to us. All the way down here at the bottom we have 10100 Ethernet adapter. We've got a 33.6 modem, a 56K modem, a 10-100-1000 Ethernet adapter, a 10 gig fiber adapter, and a different type of fiber adapter here that is 1 gigabyte or 1000 base SX. And all of these will tell us some various things about these particular cards. Not all of this is necessary right now. You don't need to know the voltage of this particular network card to be successful in this lab, for example. But what we need to do is we need to find the network interface card with the fastest speed to connect to the local network. Well, I'm going to jump back to the front of this thing and zoom it out a little. Actually, you can put it back in a frame that's nice to see with this button right here, which is kind of handy. Now I want to look over here. This is what I have to plug into. And if you take a look at this, you can kind of double click on it and say details, and it'll zoom it in a little bit for you. You can see we have a coax connection. You probably see pictures like this in your book. And we have these two connections, and if you really look closely, you'll notice that one kind of has a picture of a computer and one kind of has a picture of a phone. And even these cables look a little bit different. A phone cable is a little bit skinnier than the networking cable. And if you look closely, you might recognize that as an Ethernet cable. So even though the fiber adapter was actually faster in our shelf, the only one that we can actually use to connect here is the Ethernet adapter. And we also have our AC adapters down here, our plugs in the wall. So based on this, we don't really have anything that works here. Modem speeds are very, very slow, so we're looking at an Ethernet adapter. And if you read ahead here, you might even notice Ethernet 2 as a bit of a clue here in the instructions. That tells us we're dealing with something Ethernet related. In fact, all of these are technically Ethernet because Ethernet is a protocol. We're going to learn more about the protocols later. But usually when we're talking Ethernet, and certainly when we're talking about a copper cable, like what we're seeing in the wall socket here, we're looking for something that will be a TX style adapter. Not an SX and not an SR. Those are two types of fiber designations. So looking at these, I can tell you that this one is the fastest speed. So we need to plug this thing into this computer. The best way to do that is to take a look at the motherboard. Now this particular adapter right here, you can kind of see these teeth down here on the bottom of this. These will fit into a certain type of plug. It's called a PCIe plug. I'm going to zoom in here on our motherboard. And hopefully in your chapter you've been able to find which of these are the PCIe plugs. Well, these are actually PCI 32-bit plugs. And this is a PCIe, which is a 64-bit connection. This one's a PCIe that's usually designated for graphics cards. They need more pins, more contact points to send more data at once. But this particular card will fit very nicely in this spot right here. And you actually just click on it and drag it over and drop it into its location. It takes a second to drop into place, but there it is. You can see that that network adapter is now plugged in. And the key to this lab is two things. One, you're getting used to the simulation, but you're also getting used to finding the right product, finding the right component for the right situation. So we've selected and installed the network interface card with the fastest speed to connect to the local network. This part is done. Is it going to work now? Well, if I look at the back of the computer, I'm going to fit it here. You see this is plugged in. It's in the motherboard, but it's not plugged into the wall yet. Also, no signal detected means this computer is not even on right now. And in fact, it's usually a good idea not to plug in a computer while you're working on the inside of it. So what we want to do now is we want to get the cable that goes with this. So I'm going to go to the shelf and I'm going to go to the cables, and I'm going to find the cable that works best with a 10-100-1000 adapter. This is a fiber cable and it works for the fiber card, but we don't have a fiber plug here, so that's not going to work out. Here's a phone cable. That's not going to work for us. And we have a coax cable. We have a coax plug in the wall, but we don't have any adapters, and there were none on the shelf that fit the coax. So we are left with this one right here, the Cat5e cable. By far the most common type of connection you're going to see in actual production. You won't see much of the other types used. Fiber you might see in some server or backbone style applications, but for now we're going to leave it at the simple stuff. So I'm going to click on this cable here, and it brings it down here because it's selected. You'll notice it's highlighted a little, and there are two ends to this cable. This particular cable, I want to take one of the ends and I'm going to drag it and drop it right on that plug. And you might even hear it kind of click in. And so this cable is half plugged in, and now we want to plug it into the wall. The only one that will fit is this red one here. We're going to drop that right in there. And now we have a cable. Even though you can't see it all the way across, you can tell that this cable is plugged into the network adapter and the wall. So let's try it out. Let's see if this works. I'm going to go to the front of the PC, and I'm going to push the power button. And it gives you this screen here. And this is actually the computer booting up. It's a pretend computer, of course, but this is how it's going to appear to you. And here we are. We made it to Windows 10, and we need to verify the connectivity of that one. And it says, in the workstation's operating system, confirm that the workstation has a connection to the local network and the internet. If we go down here, I'm going to click on that picture right there, and you can see we're connected to corpnet.com, and we are connected. It also says you can confirm that the speed is there by going to the Ethernet 2 in the Network and Sharing Center. You can get to the Network and Sharing Center by right-clicking on that icon and choosing to open the Network and Sharing Center. Finding some of these things should be pretty similar on your computer if you're using Windows 10 as it will be in the simulation. So I'm going to go into the Network and Sharing Center, and we can see Ethernet 2 has internet access, and it's connected to the domain network, which means it is on the work network. This is the one that we need to have connected. And you can even verify the speed of this connection. If you click right here on that Ethernet 2, we don't have IPv6 connectivity. We'll talk about that in a later chapter, but we do have IPv4 connectivity, and we have speed of 1 gigabit per second, and bytes are sending and receiving, which means that connection is good. The media state is enabled, which means we have a good connection of all the copper pins in those wires. The cable is not bad. So all of this confirms that we have successfully completed this lab. So when you're done with the lab, you can go up here and click Done, and you'll get a lab report right away. It'll tell you how long it took. It'll tell you how many of the components you did get right, and it'll tell you if you passed it. As you go down here, you can see the things that you've done successfully or unsuccessfully, and a bit of an explanation on how all of that happened. In fact, you can even see some helpful hints here if you didn't get things right and you want to give things another try. You can try these as many times as you want. I will always only take the high score that you achieve. So it's kind of nice to be able to give it your best shot, see what you did, and then you can always try it again for more practice. I hope this helped, and if you have any questions, let me know.